you're seeing a change in the way the international order works. What used to be called the Third World is now called the Global South. It's a region that the West diminished or perhaps took for granted. You didn't hear from Africa, or rather, the West wasn't paying attention. And yet, Africa has 1 billion people, which includes the youngest population in the world, with 70% of sub-Saharan Africa under the age of 30, according to the UN. It's where all the resources are, which is why now, finally, you are starting to hear from them. South Africa recently made the strongest case against Israel ever, presenting a genocide case against Israel at the International Criminal Court in The Hague. They're not the only African country condemning Israel's offensive amid the famine in Gaza. Remember, millions of people in Africa have faced famine as well, as both conflicts and climate change intensify food insecurity across the sub-Saharan region. My next guest is an author who has spent a lot of time in the Global South and on the continent. And joining me now is A.R. Pishayan, author of Development in Africa's Informal Settlements, Below the Proletariat. She's also a professor at American University's School of International Service, and I personally know her as Angela. She was a researcher for my new book on Myrlie and Medgar Evers. My friend, A.R. Pishayan, I'm so proud of you. Here's the book. I'm going to hold it up so everybody can see it. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about your research on the continent. What did you find? What will we learn from reading your book?
So there's lots of interesting things that are in my book. And you are so right when you say that the Global South is really on the rise. And my book really helps to crystallize why it's important to get it right, why it's important to get it right with all of the population. As you mentioned, Joy, the population across the continent of Africa is really young. And some of those young people are being lifted up and some of them are being left behind. And so it's really important with all of the resources in sub-Saharan Africa and with so many different countries trying to sort of get their hands on different areas in Africa. It's really important to mobilize the people and to uplift them. We think about human resources, but we sometimes forget about investing in the human resources.
Well, let's talk about that, because Russia has actually been very aggressive about saying to African countries that are particularly rising economies, do business with us. Forget the West. The West has done you wrong. The West is who colonized and enslaved you. Do business with us. And China has been equally, if not more, aggressive. What has been the reaction of African countries at various levels of development to those developments?
Well, China's been a player on the continent for a while. It was back in 2010 when China launched a specific initiative to partner with as many countries as possible across Africa. And China doesn't hide anything. So China made it very clear, we're going to come in, we're going to give money to build roads, bridges, airports, stadiums, dams, things like that. And you need these in order to be able to boost up your trade. You need the infrastructure. And they made no qualms about saying, and we want to be paid for doing the work. And so initially, African countries said, okay, but now there's becoming a problem. The lending has sort of dried up. China is having its own difficulties, and Africa now sort of has a pick of where they can get their funds from. So things are changing. And then on your point about Russia, ever since Russia held off on the grain coming through the Black Sea via Turkey, African countries are now saying, we're not too keen on you, Russia, because you're cutting off our grain, our food supply, and causing our food to go up 3 times its normal cost. So Russia is kind of, moving away in one aspect. However, there is one thing I want to mention that's super important, and that's the Wagner Group. The Wagner Group is still sort of got its hands on the continent of Africa for lots of reasons. Some of those reasons are positive, but most of them are negative. And that is the only sort of in that Russia has on the continent right now.
And just from you, and I know you've gone to so many parts of the continent. I'm so jealous. I want to try to go. I'd have to just go with you whenever you go and fly over there.
You'll have to.
Is there a sense that I absolutely will. Is there a sense that these countries, as you meet with these informal settlements, you talk with these leaders, are they pulling away from us? Because the United States doesn't seem to have been deeply involved. We know Vice President Harris was there recently. She went to Tanzania. She also went to Ghana. Is the U.S. a player in all of this?
The U.S. will always be a player. We're sort of like the prom queen that can turn away and be shy and move away when we want to. But our glamour, everything that we are allows us to step back in and still be the prom queen. But African leaders are savvy. They are very, very savvy. They've been around the block. They've been around too many blocks. And so they sit and they wait and see what is actually offered. They love the partnership with the most powerful nation in the world, America, but they keep their eyes and ears open for other opportunities. For instance, Kenya is really taking out a lot of partnerships and a lot of lending now with Japan, very different from what they did with China. So they're turning to Japan looking for manufacturing opportunities. So the leaders really keep their eyes and ears open for whatever deal suits them the best.
Yeah. And I will note that, and we should have more conversations about this, but Europe is like probably maybe more even on the outs than we are. Angela Fashayan, A.R. Fashayan, there's the book. Thank you very much. Congratulations. And I will see you soon. I'm just going to book myself on the trips with you next time you go.
Thank you so much.
Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.